From the great state of Wisconsin, we've got U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. How's everything in Wisconsin?
Well, it's great, except for I wasn't real pleased about Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of important stuff to talk about, but nothing more important to Wisconsin, I'm sure, than how the Packers closed out the season, 4-6.
That was kind of hard to watch. So our hope springs eternal against Washington.
So you're a longtime Packer observer. What's the problem? The offense has been out of sync. The defense has been, all right. What do you think is going on?
Well, I'm not a football expert, but I just think the loss of Jordy Nelson and that deep threat, one star receiver makes the other receivers look pretty good, and those other guys just don't seem to be getting open as well to make it easy for Rodgers to complete passes. So it's really put a kibosh on the old offense. And so anyway, but maybe they'll turn it around.
And at least you avoided playing the Seahawks in the first round, who look like they are on fire. You get the Redskins, which it might be an easier game.
I think that's probably true. I think we probably have a better chance, even though it's been kind of fun to have a home game. We might have a better chance going out to Washington, which would be kind of fun to watch that victory.
Well, as Bears fans, like our favorite team, we'll be watching the game sitting at home.
Well, you're always going to root for the North, the Central.
As fond as we are of you, as fond as we are of you, sir, I just don't see that happening.
Okay.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson with us from Wisconsin. It's Riley and Scott. Let's start with what's going to happen in just a couple of hours, Senator. The president, just about 10:40 our time, is set to unveil and defend his executive action on guns and gun control, new gun regulations. What do you know? Has the Senate at all been briefed? Have you been briefed on what the president's going to say later on this morning?
No, just what we hear in the news reports. It does sound like reading the news reports. Even he seems somewhat constrained by the laws, but I don't really put my hat on that one too much or hang my hat on that. What's really unfortunate here is President Obama, if he actually wanted to make some improvements in terms of passing laws that just might, and let me underline, might help prevent some of these tragedies, he could work with people, for example, like Chuck Grassley, like John Cornyn. Other people in the House have been working on the mental health aspect of these tragedies. Take a look at actually increasing funding for enforcement of current gun laws, taking a look at straw purchases and clamping down on some of those abuses. I mean, there are areas where we could actually agree and potentially make some improvements. But unfortunately, President Obama, it's his way or the highway, as well as the other Democrat senators. I mean, last time we debated this on the Senate floor, his proposal was defeated, but Chuck Grassley had something that had a lot of commonalities with it. I voted for that. Again, it addressed straw purchases, increased enforcement. Why wouldn't they at least take that? Why wouldn't they at least look for some measurable improvement? I'll tell you the answer is they wanted this political issue.
And it seems like he's doing this, the president doing this at a time, Senator, when public opinion is shifting the other way. We see in multiple opinion polls in the past couple of weeks, especially since San Bernardino, that Americans are saying, no, we're not sure about an assault weapons ban. Not that this would do that, but, more people are saying no to an assault weapons ban. More people are saying, you know what, it's not such a bad idea if more people have guns, if there are more concealed carry holders across the country, rather than saying we need more gun restrictions to try to stop these tragedies.
Well, when they see the disaster that is President Obama's foreign policy and the rise of ISIS and the threats and the menacing social media threats of ISIS, they're feeling less secure. And so I think a natural reaction is to what do I need to do to protect my family, recognizing the police aren't going to guard your house. You have to do that yourself. And so I think just the natural reaction is to exercise your Second Amendment rights and keep and bear arms so you can actually protect yourself and your family. I think that's just a natural reaction.
Well, and Senator, we've sat back and watched people vote on this issue with their feet. Record amounts of guns being sold, the biggest Christmas for guns in American history. That tells you something.
It does. And again, take a look at what they're proposing and just ask a simple question. How many of the past tragedies would have those gun measures, those further restrictions on Second Amendment rights, prevented? Or will they prevent something in the future? If you're really serious about this, I think you have to turn your attention to mental health issues and work, in a bipartisan way in Congress with people of goodwill that actually want to address a very difficult problem. to see if we can make some improvement. There's no panacea. You're not going to solve this. There are, I think, 300 million guns on the streets of America. If you're a bad person, you can get a gun. There's just no doubt about it, which again kind of goes back to your point that people are voting with their feet and they're going to gun stores and they're buying their own protection.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson with us from the great state of Wisconsin. It's Riley Scot on WROK. Let's turn back toward national security, which you mentioned, the president's foreign policy, frankly, a disaster. You are set the rest of the week to have listening sessions across Wisconsin to hear from people regarding the topic, ISIS, national security, keeping America safe. Is this 2016 election, both at the presidential level and at the senatorial level, going to turn into a question about which candidate and perhaps which party can help keep America safe?
Well, as I've been traveling around the state of Wisconsin tirelessly for 5 years, I've been saying that there's one word that describes what I think all these elections are about, in security. And right now, national security is certainly getting to the top of the list there, but what about income security and retirement security and job security and healthcare security? I'm hoping the Wisconsinites and Americans take a look at the last 7 years of President Obama's liberal progressive policies and ask themselves a simple question. Have they worked? I mean, have they made us more secure, safer, more prosperous? And unfortunately, the answer is no. President Obama's liberal progressive policies have made matters much, much worse.
And that's one of the things, too, as you look at it, there's really nothing that you can point to, and I would find this to be a difficult position to be in if I were Hillary Clinton, to look back over, well, you're the Secretary of State, let's start listing foreign policy successes of this administration you were part of. There aren't any.
Well, listen to what Jimmy Carter said at an Aspen Institute meeting in July. He said, I can't think of many nations in the world where we have a better relationship now than we did when he took over. And then further, the United States' influence and prestige and respect in the world is probably lower now than it was 6 or 7 years ago. Now, this is coming from Democrat President Jimmy Carter, basically, analyzing President Obama's failure, Secretary Clinton's failure in foreign policy over 7 years.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson with us. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. You're the former senator from Wisconsin, the one you defeated to take the job. He'd like that job back. But one thing Russ Feingold was never known for is being a real leader on the issue of national security, well, among other things, too. Will Wisconsin voters see a clear difference, do you think, through the year from, via your leadership in the Senate and via perhaps debates and other topics that come up through the year between you and your potential opponent in November?
They'll have to. I mean, there's a enormous contrast between Senator Feingold, who is a career politician, versus myself. I'm a Wisconsin manufacturer. That's my background. I've actually solved problems. Senator Feingold thinks President Obama's foreign policy is historic, meaning that it's good. No, it's historically bad. He says he agrees with President Obama over 95% of the time. So, but let's face it, after 8 years of an administration, to a certain extent, the next election is a referendum on the successes and failures, primarily failures of this administration. So Senator Feingold has kind of lashed himself to ship Obama here. And again, I don't think that'll go over particularly well.
And Senator, we've talked to you a number of times over the years, of course, and we know your manufacturing background, your business background. You're not a politician by trade. You entered the race. You became a U.S. Senator in large part for one issue, and that's Obamacare and repealing and fixing our health care system, because you saw what it did, or what it was going to do, to people of Wisconsin and businesses across the country. For the very first time, it appears an actual repeal bill is going to hit the president's desk for the first time. Your Wisconsin colleague Paul Ryan is helping shepherd that through the House. It's already through the Senate, I believe. So for the first time, the president's going to actually have to put a signature on a bill to veto a repeal of his signature achievement. Is that the first step in this right direction toward repealing, replacing Obamacare?
Yes, I'll have to admit, giving a thumbs up on that vote to repeal the vast majority of Obamacare was a fun vote. But let's face it, it'll land on President Obama's desk. He'll veto it, and we don't have the rights to we don't have the votes to override the veto. So that's why 2016 is so crucially important. You mentioned Russ Feingold earlier. He actually has a quote where he said the health care bill is by no means as bad as some people pretended it was. Now, I've gotten hundreds of letters from Wisconsinites, real people who have been harmed, that have seen their insurance rates over just a couple of years increase from $216 per month to over $700 per month, almost a 200% increase. Now, those are real people. They're not pretending. This has been real harm. And so, no, I think, as you said it earlier, there's going to be a stark contrast in the 2016, and hopefully people are really getting informed, understanding the folly of electing people like Senator Feingold who think they're smarter than you, think they're so smart that they'll tell you what kind of health care to buy, and that actually supports President Obama's feckless foreign policy.
He's U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Oh, Senator, before we let you go, we didn't have any cow talk here at all. Cow calendar, anything of note? I mean, normally you got to put an elbow in our ribs over Wisconsin's superiority in cows.
We'll do that in June. Right now, Wisconsin cows are pretty smart. They're kind of staying in the barn where they want.
Understood. Senator, as always, thanks a lot for your time.
Have a happy New Year.